The next question, since we're focusing on what can be done and what have you done, is a question by Ellen Quintel. Is that correct? What's that? Quintel, okay. And the question is this: what in your professional experience would prepare you for budgetary management? And again, we'll start out with Joe.
I'm the only person here from the private sector. In the private sector, we do things a little bit differently than the public sector because we have a profit motive and we have an extra incentive to be cost effective. In my time in the private sector, I've managed budgets up to almost $1 million. So I understand the principles of budgeting, I understand the principles of management, and if you go to westorangetreasuries.org, you certainly understand that I know how to ask questions and analyze budgets because that's what I've been doing for the last 18 years. One of the things that you have to do in a budget process is you have to plan for all contingencies. When I was running in the private sector, I had to do a budget that would be the best of all possible worlds, one that didn't change the funding, and one which cut spending 10%. And I think that's part of the discipline and the experience that I will bring to this process. And again, I don't want to keep boring you on this, but I followed the entire budget process for 2010, starting back in February. I spent hours in this room listening to the budget process, and I can tell you there are ways that we can bring the private sector perspective into the budget process to improve it, to make our process and our town more efficient. And certainly one of those elements would be to do a better job injecting the Citizens Budget Advisory Committee into the process.
Councilman Wesson.
Yes, for me, how the experience I had has multiple. I've had experience in the private sector, and I've had experience in the public sector. And while in the public sector, I've had the relevant experience that's necessary to meet the needs of West Orange Township. This budget that we have, this budget process, is a compilation of three components that makes up our property tax: the Board of Education, the county, and our municipal taxes. And one has to look at that budget process individually and collectively at the same time, and have the experience to be able to have a dialogue and in-depth discussions with the other two entities, which is the Board of Education, which I have experience as a superintendent, and the county, which I have experience as a freeholder. So those two experiences may give me the leadership edge and experience in working with those other components that impact on your property taxes. So it's not something that I'm talking about. It's something that I walk about. I walk the walk, and this is not a time for on-the-job training. This is a time to challenge people who've had the experience and lead us into the future. And I've also had the experience with putting together strategic plans. And I know how to put together a strategic plan which will allow the community to have input as to where we're going, as to the budget development of what works and doesn't work. So with those two experiences, I say again, experienced leadership wins out.
So, my experience has been pretty much every day. I manage a $100 million budget with the department, and the department has over 700 employees. One of the greatest things to be able to do with that department is we turn it into a $22 million recurring revenue source for the taxpayers. We've done this without cut spending, without layoffs, or without promotions. And all while guiding to this agency as probably the finest correctional agency in the state of New Jersey, probably one on the East Coast. And that's evident by our numerous accreditations and awards. So every day I work within that budget, and I bring that experience to the town councils. Thank you.
As you can see, a lot of the questions are near and dear to your heart, well, near and dear to your pocket, as it were. So we're going to continue in that vein. And so the next question is from Tawana. And what she asks is, what are your solutions to the problems facing West Orange with regards to taxes and redevelopment? So we're going to start off with Mr. Procopio.
We want to cover taxes and redevelopment in 90 seconds.
Well, you can choose one of the other.
The solution for our taxes is that we need to agree as a community that taxes are hurting the community, it's hurting people here in this room, and it's hurting our neighbors. We need to agree as a community that the most important thing that the council can do is to stop raising taxes. Once you do that, it changes your way of thinking, and so now you know exactly how much money you have. You go back to these budget directors, you say, this is how much money you have to run the department. It's your job to give us the budget that you want. We need to prioritize our spending and make those priorities as efficient as possible. And again, this is where the Citizens Budget Advisory Committee can lend a spare set of hands, a spare set of eyes, excuse me. Transparency is important, so residents know and understand where we spend the money and why we spend the money, and then you can advise your elected officials about what you think the priorities should be. We certainly need to look for new funding. I think shared services are getting more and more of a potential outlet because the pain in all the municipalities around here is getting difficult, and we need to make the town more business friendly. This will make us a town where people will want to move to and not move away from because it's tax friendly. That's what we need to do about taxes. Thank you.
Yes, let me clear up something that I keep hearing, that taxes have gone up exponentially for the last 10 years. The taxes haven't. The budget consists of, your property tax consists of those three components that I mentioned. The county, the Board of Education, and municipal. The municipal portion of your budget is only 25%. The major portions of our property tax are 60% from the Board of Education and maybe 15% from the county. And then with the county board, with the municipality, taxes haven't risen. There were 5 zero-based budgets that were introduced through the last 10 years. 5 no tax increase budgets that were voted on by the township. Now, I'm not defending my trust. I hadn't been here 10 years ago, but I just know a little bit about the budget just to explain to you. I'm new. I'm brand new. I just started July 20th. And on the redevelopment areas, I settled on the UDAC. If I was a freeholder, I settled on the Jersey City Development Corporation, which was responsible for developing the downtown Jersey City waterfront, the Newport Mall, the Newport condominiums, and all that commercial area, downtown Jersey City that's there now. I was on the development corporation that guided those kind of development projects. We need new development here in West Orange. And I've got some great ideas that's going to enhance our area aesthetically, and at the same time that's going to bring in some dollars to the revenue. So I have, once again, the experience wins out.
Okay, Mr. Jones?
I think the way that we control taxes is to control spending. A very simple formula. And the way I propose that will be, I think we should look at every spending program at budget time. But before we fund it, let's see if it's working, if it's not. If the program doesn't work, I think we should not fund it. I think we should not rely on one-shot gimmicks to balance the budget. I think we should only count on recurring revenue to balance the budget. I think we should conduct regular performance reviews on all the programs to ensure that they're performing as intended as budgeted for. And more importantly, I think we should hold the department directors accountable for every dollar that they spend and answer to the people on any charities. Thank you.
The next question is by Kevin Diggs. We're going to change it up a little bit here. And the question is, where do you stand on deer hunting? I mean, you have to give a light question here. So we're going to start with Mr. Krokowicz.
My father grew up on a farm in rural Virginia, and I'm very familiar with the idea of hunting. I've not done it in many, many years. I don't care for it. As many of you know, there's been a lot of controversy with the deer cull at South Mountain Reservation in an attempt to help restore that ecosystem that apparently is being ravaged by the deer. As also you know, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of research about contraceptives to prevent a violent cull at the South Mountain Reservation, and also at the Eagle Rock Reservation. I'm for anything that not only protects the deer, but also protects humans. And the way that the the contraceptive Donacon has been presented is that it's extremely expensive and extremely labor intensive. My position is that until that becomes the clear winner of the way to cull the deer, I think we have to continue the hunt, and it's already showing results. Anybody who's been hiking over there at the reservation can see the change that's come. And unfortunately, it's because of the violent end of the deer, but it's something that I feel that has been done correctly.
Councilman Webster.
Well, I have two personal experiences to relate to the deer question. One is I've had a house up in Pocono since 1977, and in all those years I've never had a deer accident. Whereas all of my neighbors had deer accident experiences. And 2 weeks ago, funny you should mention the deer question, a deer ran into my car on Pleasant Valley Way, and fortunately I had a 5,000-pound car, so it wasn't that serious. But there is a problem, and our citizens have to be protected from the overflow of deer that are in our community. And at the same time, I'm very passionate to how we get that. I applaud the reflectors that are on Pleasant Valley Way. I'm under the impression that they work, and if we could implement or put more reflectors throughout our community to avoid having any deer accidents, I think that would help the situation. But like I said, I just had a personal situation with that. Something has to be done.
Mr. Jones?
But I'm not a hunter as well, and growing up in Belleville, we didn't see many deer, so I'm looking for stars. But more seriously, my position is this: is that I think it had to be done in the Southern Reservation. I believe what's happened is working, and until they can find a contraceptive that's proven to work, I support what's being done there for the citizens.
My daughter refers to the deer as Bambi, so it's a very difficult thing when you think about doing something to Bambi. I'm going to make an announcement. There is a red Honda Civic outside SSL 38L. It's not a question. You have to move your car. Last name Oliver. So there's last name Oliver, red Honda Civic, SSL 38L.